Hey, Renegades, Scapers. What's going on, friends? Welcome to Mini Monday. I am your host this week, and we are going to be painting up the Necrotech Wraithriders. Specifically, we're going to be painting this for the majority of the time. I have started working on the other two off camera because we're also going to do or attempt to do some cool basing, and because it takes a while longer for the basing stuff to dry, I wouldn't have time to do the whole base on camera if I didn't already have a second copy off camera that was already dry. So that's what we're going to do. Very easy paint job for the most part. I have already I primed this miniature in Lead Belcher Citadel paints, their spray paint, and then I put a black wash over the entire miniature using this Nuln Oil here, and that has brought it to the state that it is currently in. If you don't have Lead Belcher spray paint or a silver spray paint, you could just paint it black and then, or prime it black and then go over it with some kind of silver paint. I used Lead Belcher because I have Lead Belcher pot, so it's easy to cover up mistakes if I'm using the same color spray, exact same color spray as the little pot that I have. For the most part, it's a pretty simple model to paint as far as colors that we need. There's only a couple of main colors that we're going to use. And then from there, it's really just a lot of experimentation on and how exactly it is that you want the miniature to look. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. While I paint today, I also want to talk about Heroscape because I have really gotten into the game. Honestly, it's kind of crazy how deep of a dive I've gone into the game. I've played, if I'm actually counting the games that I've played, I think I've played 7 total games. 3 were here at my house, and 4 were at a local game store where I played in my very first Heroscape tournament, actually, using all AOA miniatures. So, and I didn't do too bad. I learned a lot. The game has a lot of layers to it, I guess, is what I would say. So yeah, let's paint some miniatures and talk about Heroscape. I'm using this Rakarth Flesh for the Wraithrider's skin. I'm gonna put that on my palette here. I got a new palette today. I don't really love it, but I didn't really like the one that I had before. So I'm gonna water that down a little bit with some airbrush thinner. I'm gonna put the water outside of the range of the paint. So here's my paint, here's my water. The reason that I don't just put the water into, in this case, it's airbrush thinner. You can use just water if you want. I'm weird about the airbrush thinner. But then you pull the water into the paint, or bring the paint to the water. If you put it in here, you can't control how much water that you have. If you pull it in from outside, you can kind of control where the water goes, or how watered down your paints are. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put it over his skin. His skin goes about halfway down the body. I'm not too worried about mistakes because I am going to go through and, paint a bunch of the stuff more than one time. So, and this is a very thin paint, so we're probably going to need a couple coats of this. But while we let one coat dry, we can move on to other parts of the miniature. It's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a, you know, work on this part while that dries, work on another part. Normally, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can kind of, at least how I paint, you know, I paint. If you've watched me paint before, you know, I usually, 9 times out of 10, I will paint the whole miniature with the base colors first. And then once I get the base colors on, then I'll usually put a wash over most of or all of the miniature, using different color washes for different textures and stuff like that. I almost always use washes. I'm just a wash guy. I started with washes, and I just really like using them. Not all painters will use them. Some painters don't use them at all. Some painters use them very little. I tend to use them a lot. And that works for me. And so far, people tend to like my painting, I think. One of the main things, one of the main compliments that I've been getting recently as I've been, you know, now I've been playing with other people and, you know, posting stuff online. People seem to really like how I base my miniatures. So that's why today I want to do a little bit of basing with an idea that I have. And I want to talk about basing a little more than, you know, kind of anything else when it comes to... We are going to paint. Obviously, we're painting now. But once we get to a certain point, we're going to switch over to basing because I think that people will really enjoy that. Like I said, that's one of the main compliments that I hear is, you know, how much they like the bases. So I just want to show people that it's pretty easy. You know, you do need some materials, but there's also ways that you can... So this Racklin Flesh, it's pretty pale flesh tone. I never really used it much, but I really want to give these guys like a, you know, that, I don't know, the pale skin that's on like the army card. We're using that as inspiration. Colors will be extremely similar to the card, although I'm not gonna do the armor plating as yellow as it is on the card. It's going to be more of an orange to match my Lich. And the chain is going to be an interesting one, and I'll explain why when we get to that. Because, like I said, I do have the other two mostly painted off camera, and you'll see what I mean. I tried to do the chains to make the chains appear either on fire or at a minimum I wanted them to look like they were hot, you know? Like it was hot metal. I've done it before with a Ghost Rider miniature. I made like Ghost Rider's chain look like it was maybe not on fire, but very, very hot. And that was kind of what I was going for with these guys, and my technique totally fumbled. I apologize. It looks like I lost my connection. Not really sure why that happened. Hopefully it's working good. It says I have an excellent connection now. No idea how that happened. Because my internet didn't go down. OBS isn't down. YouTube isn't down. It's very strange. It says I'm live. If there's anybody in the chat that can let me know if it's working okay. Although if nobody decides to say anything, that doesn't necessarily mean I guess I could look on my phone, huh? Let's do that. Let's see. All right, it says that it says I'm good. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. Apologies to the stream for that. All right, so I don't know where that left off or what I was in the midst of talking about. We'll just pretend like it didn't get disconnected at all, and I'll just pick up where I left off. So yeah, so we're gonna work on bass because people seem to like the basing stuff, and so I try to look at a character and think about what kind of bass, would represent that character. So these guys, they are on rollers, obviously. And so I tried to think about how I could make that more dynamic by using the bass to my advantage. And I have an idea. It might not look good, but we're going to try it. And I have not done this on the other miniatures. I've only done the part that needs to dry. But the beauty is we have two to work on, so if we start working on one and we don't like it, we can grab the other one. I was going to try and have one done already so that I had something to reference, but I ran out of time. I wish there was a way. I wish it could tell me how many people are actually watching right now. It's weird that it doesn't. Yeah, so let's talk about Scape a little bit, huh? So yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it was yesterday. Yesterday I played a 3-player game using only Renegade terrain paired with the old castle, the old Hasbro castle, and it was like a triangular map. We played like 450 points ish. We kind of just made armies that we thought would kind of work together, using mostly just AOA, because that's all that we have. A few of us do have a couple minis from the original starter set, the Rise of the Valkyrie. So we kind of paired a few of those characters with some of the AOA stuff. My one friend played strictly AOA, and then my other friend played no AOA, and then I played a mix of the two. So I played Bears with Irene and Finn and Thorgrim. Is that his name? Torgrim? The other Viking opposite Finn. Finn buffs your attack, the other one buffs your defense. I'm terrible with the names, so you'll have to forgive me. If somebody in the chat knows the name and can remind me, that would be great. I was gonna bring my cards over here and put them next to me, but I did not do that, and I'm not gonna get up. Sorry, just want to make sure the stream is working. It does say I'm live, so. Okay. All right. So I'm just working around the mini as this dries, just making sure that I have good coverage. No, it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, I am getting some of this on some of the pipes and all that. And that's totally fine because I'm going to have to put stuff over it anyway. Need a little more Racklin flesh there. Is that what it's called? Rackhearth? Racklin flesh is the shade, which we will use that as well. Yeah, so Finn and the other Viking with Irene and the Bears worked really well together. I liked that combination a lot. Who else did I take? It was them. Oh, I took the Viking squad too, the Vikings that come in Rise of the Valkyrie. So it's like a half Viking, half bear army, basically. I also took the owl from the battle box, just because I had extra points and I needed something cheap to put in my list. So that's what I did. One of my friends played the agents that are in the Rise of the Valkyrie box. Their little leader guy, we kept calling him Morpheus because he looks like Morpheus from the Matrix. Finn and the Vikings as well. And the dragon from that starter set as well. Mim starts with an M. Sorry, I'm really bad with names. And then my other friend played with all AOA stuff. Two of the Valkyries. I'm so bad with names. It was all AOA stuff. Anyway, he ended up winning. It came down to my two friends each had they each had one mini left with 1 health each. And they basically just kept rolling dice until one of them... And it actually took several rolls. They both kept, blocking hits and going back and forth for probably 5 or 6 rolls. And then eventually, they might as well just flipped a coin. So it ended up being really close, and it was very, very fun. And then I also played in a tournament last weekend, not this past weekend, the weekend before, with other folks from the New England area. And let me just say, that community has been amazing. And I'm so glad I'm so glad. You know, it's been a while since I've been a part of a gaming community um, that, you know, didn't have drama, wasn't full of, um, you know, unwelcoming folks. This was the opposite, and I really liked that. So, shout out to the New England Heroscape crew because they're awesome. You guys are awesome. If you're watching, you're awesome. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with that coverage of the Racklin Flush Shade. We're going to do. Which step are we going to do now? I think we're going to do. Let's bubble in the orange. So for the orange, or I mean, for me, it's orange. So for the armor plating, the mask, and the armor plating on the chainsword, I'm going to be using Scrag Brown. It's not a base paint, so it is a little thinner. So again, you need multiple coats. But even though it says it's brown, it's a really nice color for this orange that we're doing. I'll put some of that on my palette. Same as last time, I'm going to use this airbrush thinner. I'm going to put it outside of the puddle of paint, tiny little drop, and then we'll push the water into the paint to water it down. That was probably a little bit too much. I probably don't want it as watered down as that, but it's okay. Okay, so I'm going to paint this armor plating here. Yeah, it's way too watered down. Yeah, I don't. It's really thin. Might have to add some more paint to my palette. I need to learn to spread my paints out across my palette. Like, I can use this whole space, you know what I mean? I don't have to put all of my colors really close together like this. It's actually not good to do that. Yeah. Don't say as I do as I say, not as I do. Don't do that. But it's okay. I'll just put this thin layer on here. Alright, let's grab some more. This was very bad. Don't do this. I'm really screwing up. Alright. Derek says, I always end up keeping my paints too close together and they form a single puddle and ruin whatever colors I play. Yeah. Yeah, I should not have done this little mess right here at all. That was terrible. Alright, let's see. Decide here how I want this to look. I think I'm going to go the whole thing here. Once I'm done with the armor plating, I need to keep this paint close by because we're going to need it in a later step, and you'll see why. I keep hitting the camera with my hat. I may take the hat off. bear on my desk that I put the hat on. His name's Bobo. There he goes. There you go. My buddy Bobo. I don't know which of these pieces I want to paint. I kind of dig that, actually. Oh man, this is trying to get like some of the mask here colored, but not all of it. But I'm getting paint in places I don't want to get paint, so it's not working out too well for me right now. I gotta repaint that silver because I like that this is painted silver and it's not on that side. I don't like that. Let's hit this again with some more paint. I thought I got orange on some skin. I don't remember where it is, though. I don't see it now. Okay, I guess I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that, I guess. Alright, let's grab some lead belcher. This is another reason why I like just having that lead belcher. on, you know, using it as my base. That's weird. Now you can hear me. I don't know why I'm having some technical issues today. I'm not too sure why though. I apologize. It's weird because, like I said, everything, you know, usually when something's not working, it shows on my end that it's not working. But everything on my end says that I have a good connection and everything's great. So, but I appreciate you letting me know. Cool figure. Yeah, it is a cool figure, isn't it? It's a very cool figure. Okay, so now that we have this color, his mask almost looks like a Deathstroke. I'm getting a Deathstroke vibe on the mask. Okay. So for the skin, and I'm going to use this for the armor plating too, just so that I don't have to get too many things out. We're going to kind of make our own little wash here. I made it over here earlier because I used it, but unfortunately, like a dum-dum, it's almost all dried up now. So I could just add some water, but I'm already messing with pigments a little bit. So the two that I'm going to use Racklin Flesh Shade, but Racklin Flesh Shade is kind of like a brown red maybe. I see why now there's a camera issue. Hold on, or a audio issue. It's because my microphone was extremely far away from my face, and I'm just now seeing that that's a thing. Hopefully everybody can hear me way better now. Okay, so I'm going to use some of this Racklin Flesh. It's a brownish red. Very good for Caucasian flesh. Also very good for using it for gold. It's a very good gold wash. So I'm going to take, you know, as much in this paintbrush as I can. I'm going to put it in this little pot thing here. I'm going to do that a couple of times. So like I said, this is great for Caucasian flesh. But we're wanting to make more of like a ghostly flesh, I guess. So I'm going to tint that tint with a purple wash. So I'm going to add a little bit of purple in with the reddish brown color. And that should be enough. I shouldn't have to make more. I might put a dab of water in there. I might not even put it all in there. I'm going to put it on the side. Again, this isn't water. It's airbrush thinner. When I say water, in this case, I mean airbrush thinner. You can use just water. I like the airbrush thinner because that's what you would use on paint to thin it down anyway. And you're not putting anything in it that will mess with like the pigments or anything. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put this on. I'm going to put it on the armor plating as well as the flesh. I'm not going to put it on the metal because the metal I'm going to use a black wash. That might not have been enough. That kind of makes me sad because now I'm going to have to make more. And my color will be off. It's alright. And I gotta do it quick because you don't want that to dry. So grab some more flesh. Probably a lot more this time. Sorry, I'm not saying anything because I'm working quickly to... I don't want the stuff that I just put on there to dry. If I get some of the shade on the metal, I don't really care very much. It won't matter because I'm going to put a black shade on it anyway, as best I can. It's tough when you're making a mini and you're not going to use all the same shade on the whole mini, because then you have to do what I'm doing. I think I got it all right. Dry my brush and go around and kind of suck up some of the more heavily saturated spots. I don't want I want pooling, but not that much pooling. Alright, let that set for a minute. I don't need this anymore. Alright, for the ball roller, while that dries, for the ball at the bottom, I used a different kind of metal. So I actually busted out the scale 75 to use this black metal. A very easy substitute for the black metal is the dark metal from Pro Acryl, which I normally like more than scale 75, but for some reason I picked up the scale 75. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. Scale 75 paints, you really have to shake them up. I'm going to put that right there. Look at that. Such a good color. Alright, I probably grabbed too much, but that's alright. It's another thing I'm really bad at, is gauging how much paint I need. Okay. And the only reason that I'm using a different kind of silver is just I really wanted to break up and differentiate between um, you know, the ball, which is the main mode of transportation, right? And everything else looks like it's just holding on to the ball. So I figure we should give it a little different color. Which in practice does make sense. So back to talking about Heroscape. One thing that I learned, a very important thing when playing in the tournament that I played in last week, is truly how important bonding is, and the use of common units, which of course there currently aren't any in the AOA stuff. So if you want to access common squads, you have to get older ones, at least for now, until Renegade, releases some. Hopefully Pirates first, please, Renegade. Man, they need a common squad bad. Although they do have the Knaves of the Stolen Scimitar, or the Silver Scimitar? Stolen Scimitar? Yeah, bonding is super important. Now, in AOA, there is a little bit of bonding. We had kind of talked about it earlier when I first mentioned it. There is a little bit of bonding. The Knaves can bond with pirates and captains, which is good. And then the Bears bond with any champion that aligns with Jandar, I believe. The polar bears can activate. So the problem is if your polar bears die, you're in trouble. Whereas with, a common squad, you have your opponent has way more difficulty, taking out your squads that bonds with your units, or your heroes, rather, whatever you want to call them. So, yeah. I learned that very quickly, that if you don't have bonding, it's an uphill battle for you. Which is, it's a key part of the game. It just stinks that currently, for, the only really archetype that we have in the AOA stuff, which is pirates, they're very limited with their bonding. And I would argue that the pirates bonding, like the Knaves bonding, is weaker than the Bears, since the Bears have 2 health each, right? So Oh, that camera's gone. I don't know why that camera's gone. So you can still hear me, but the camera is frozen. That's weird. Yeah, what is up with my technical difficulties today? Let me see if I can fix it. Let's see if I can fix it. There we go. Is this one working? Yes, it is. Okay. Nothing's frozen now. Tony says, how's everybody doing today? Well, everybody's great. Well, Louie's great, anyway. Hopefully everybody else is great out there. Okay. So that is the silver ball thing, which I will put a black wash on in a minute once it dries. We need to probably start working on the chain, I think. So the chain, like I said, I was trying to make the chain look like it was hot. It did not work out the way that I wanted it to. But what I'm going to do is the way that I did it so that all my stuff matches. And then we'll, you'll see later when I reveal the finished product before we start on the bases. You'll see what I did. All right, so this is kind of a hodgepodge. If you're following along with me, please feel free to just leave your chain as silver. That's what I should have done. And instead, I decided to do something else. So the first thing we're going to do is a wash with Seraphim Sepia. It's a yellow-brownish color, I guess. Yellow, that's what I would consider it. Yellow and brown mixed together. And we're going to put this over the whole thing. So this is going to end up not making it the color I wanted it to, but instead it's going to make it look like an oily chain, which is actually good. One of my lights just went out. I got these new lights from my friend, and they're really great lights, but I'm actually having problems with one of them because it just does not hold a charge. And it's even plugged in right now, and it's still died. It's almost like the plug itself is not charging it as much as it should, so it's still slowly draining and eventually dies. But it's only the one. It's kind of annoying because I took some of my other lights down and replaced them with these, So right now I'm kind of struggling light-wise. So I'm going to take this and turn this down here while that charges. Alright, so now it just kind of looks like a greasy chain, right? Alright. So the next thing I did was put a purple wash on it. Don't ask me why I did that, but I did. And so we're going to do it now. I'm going to do it exactly the way I did, even though we're going to correct it and change it. I'm showing you how I go from making something look terrible to not too bad. So this is what my thought was, is that I was going to just keep making it darker and the light would still shine through for some reason. I don't know what I was thinking. So I'm just going to put this purple all over it now. And notice I did not let the Seraphim Sepia dry before I put this on. Okay. We'll let that dry. Alright, so now I'm going to Alright, so while that's drying, I'm going to put a wash on the ball because I remembered what I said at the beginning earlier was that I didn't mind if stuff got on the silver because I was going to put a wash on it. And then I remembered like a second ago that I already put a wash on the whole thing before the stream started because I was trying to, you know, kind of get ahead of the game. Alright, so I'm going to put the wash on the ball. And there's little lines on the ball. I want to make sure that the wash gets into those crevices so that those things pop, you know. Alright, so now we're just going to kind of reapply this. I made sure my paint was a little thinner than it was before. We don't want to touch the recesses. This is pretty standard painting stuff right here. Re-highlighting back up with our base color. Kind of ignoring some of the darker spots that you want to leave as, you know, shadows or whatever. And just remember that this paint was, you know, pretty translucent. So just remember that when you're re-highlighting back up that you might have to come back and do more. Hopefully you guys can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm just, you know, bringing the Rakarth flesh, or whatever this color is, kind of back to the surface here. Focusing more on the raised parts than anything else. If you want your transitions to be even smoother, you could just darken down the Rakarth, so it's a little closer in color to the tinted version. And I just noticed there's a thing there that I want to paint metal, because I did on the other minis as well. He has like this plug hole in his bicep. I don't know if you guys can see that there. It's right there. I'm gonna paint that, because I want that to be metal. I want to talk about Scape more, but I don't know what else to say. I think my main takeaway from the tournament was that old units are still very, very strong. Definitely stronger than the AOA stuff that's currently out right now, which makes playing in a tournament with older stuff difficult if you don't have older stuff. Now, luckily, the community is so nice and willing to like share that it's pretty easy to still experience that stuff. Yeah. And there are some inexpensive classic stuff out there that's worth getting just to help, fill out your collection. And obviously, once there's like common units in AOA, it'll work out quicker. All right. So that's where we're at on the skin for now. I'm going to do a bigger highlight in just a second. But the chain is dry. So I'm going to do the next thing that I did in this little... Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get a dry brush. I got this dry brush here. I'm gonna just dry brush on some oranges and yellows. Again, this didn't work, so and the reason that I'm still doing it is because I'm going to show you what I did to make it look a little nicer when I screwed up. So take some of this. This is Fire Dragon Bright, by the way. It's just like a bright orange. I wonder when my wife's going to realize that I stole all of her towels and that I used them to paint with. Hopefully not anytime soon. So I think one of the main reasons why this technique that I'm doing here didn't work for what I was wanting it to is because I was being too deliberate about my dry brushing. But you can see kind of where we're at right now. One more thing that I did before I gave up and decided something else. I did a flash gits. Grab some of this yellow here. Hard on the end here because alright, so when I got to about this step, this is when I realized that I wasn't getting the effect I wanted to. Not that it looked bad, it's just not what I wanted it to look like. I really just wanted it to look like it was a piece of metal that was very, very hot. And again, I've done this before. I did it on a Ghost Rider miniature a while back, and it looks great on that miniature, but on this miniature I just couldn't get it to look right. So the next thing that I did was I grabbed my lead belcher again, and I grabbed a different dry brush. The brighter orange looks really good on the chain, that purple wash to go against it. Yes, I agree, it looks great. It's just, again, it wasn't what I was trying to go for. So then I took this chain, and I was like, oh, if I make it look like a chain again, then maybe the color will pop through and it will look like it's hot. And I can tell you right now that that does not happen. So then I got to about here, and I was like, all right, I need to do something completely different. Because, and it's crazy, because this is exactly what it looked like. So I was like, oh, nope, I don't like that. So this is what I did. I went back to, yeah, why is this curling so bad? That just means it's not wet enough. Like it's not, like this side isn't, but it's soaked. I don't know if you guys can see the water. I used to have some nickels in my drawer. You can put the nickels in the corner, and it'll keep it from curling. They're upstairs, though, and it's not going to stop happening. I could put some water on it. That would help. Buy yourself one of these. They're great. You can, like, spray water from a distance. Just put some distilled water in there, and you're good to go. All right. So I'm going to go back to my brown that I used for this. And I just went around the mini, and I did this. So I went on both sides of the chain. And then on the other side. So I just put this on the sides all the way up the chain. And then on the inside of the links, basically opposite these orange nubs here, I just grabbed my lead belcher and I filled those in with silver. So the inner workings of the chain link are silver, and the outer workings of that is this orange color. Sorry, I'm shaking real bad. And then, like I said, I went through and all the insides I painted like, and that's kind of the vibe that I went with, is this right here. not going to do all of them right now, but I just kind of went like this. Something like that all the way around. Yeah. So that's kind of what I ended up going for, and I kind of like it now. Again, not the effect that I was going for, but it's totally fine. So in the interest of time, we're going to start working on the base. We're going to kind of just jump ahead to the next step after the dry. So let's get to the before dry first. So the effect that I'm looking for is very similar to this effect that I did on this Power Ranger miniature on stream. It was probably a couple years ago now. But he has these like flame whips that kind of like drag on the ground. So I wanted that to look like a scorched earth where the whip had kind of like drug through the dirt. So that's kind of the effect that I was going for. I'm very, very happy with the way that that turned out. I think it looks great. So we're going to try and mimic that same kind of effect with the ball guys. So basically I want there to be a trail behind the ball guy that looks like fire almost, I guess. Or at least a hot trail. So we need to make something that will work as kind of the ground, the earth. And for that, I'm choosing to use Sterland Battlemire from Citadel. You can use any basing stuff that you like. So, this stuff right here is one of my absolute favorites. It is Vallejo's Diorama FX ground texture, and this is the gray sand. I'm not using this simply because the color that I want is this color already, so I don't have to worry about painting it. And this stuff tends to dry faster than this stuff. What's great about this is that you can paint it really easily once it dries. So before we do this, I want to say that I did this kind of recently, and it kind of changed the game for me as it comes to making bases. So I went on eBay and I bought, I paid like $5, and I got 24 bases, empty blank bases. And then what I did was I glued the bases to a piece of cardboard, and then I just went around and I used the things that I have to try and make different bases to see what I liked and what I didn't like. And in the end, these were the bases that I settled on to keep. Some of them I like more than others. Some of them are still evolving. Like this one is still evolving. This one is still evolving. This one is still evolving. But then there's some that are totally finished. Like this guy right here is one of my favorite bases. It's very bright, so you can't really see it. But that's a really cool snow base. This is also one of my favorites. This is like a sand, like a beach, right? So this is like water coming up onto the beach. So what we're going to be using right now is this stuff right here. That's what it looks like when it's dry. So I just keep that on my desk next to me, and when I get to a part in a miniature where I want to add a base, I look at those and I look at the miniature and I see, okay, what can I do? So we're going to grab some of this. I have a scooping tool. I swear I am not sponsored by Citadel. This is a Citadel tool, but you can use anything. I just so happen to have this. I promise I do not work for them or have anything to do with them. It's just I've always been a Citadel guy as far as paints go. I do like Army Painter, and I do like Pro Acryl. I like Vallejo. It's just these are the most available. Alright, so this stuff is very gritty. It's essentially just paint and sand mixed together. You can make something similar on your own. There are tutorials for that online. So I'm just going to grab a scoop of that like this, and I'm just going to slop it on there. So what I'm going for here is coverage first. So I want to make sure that the entire ground is covered. I want to smush it down to make it as compact as I can. And then we can add layers once we get everything covered down. Trying not to get it right up against the ball right now because I'm going to kind of like form it a little bit. But I do want it in that crevice there, right? Probably don't need a ton for the back. The back is pretty the back is pretty close to the back of the miniature is pretty close to the back of the base. So there's not a ton of room behind this miniature to do the trail, which is why I chose this miniature, because really I'm just showing you this part, and then we're going to fast forward to this being dry. Because this does take a little while to dry, probably an hour or two. Alright, so just moving this around. I'm getting it all over my fingers, which is not good. I'm just kind of like, I want the paint to get in there, you know. And if you get some of this on the ball, it's fine, because that's kind of the effect you're going through, right? He just rolled through that that dirt that you're putting on there, so it would make sense that some is on him. Alright, so now that I've got the whole base covered, I want it to look like he's kicked up some of the dirt in front of him. So I'm going to take this tool and I'm just going to kind of push it back into the mini so that it looks like he's pushing up on the dirt, if that makes sense. Alright, you see how it's kind of like pushing up on the dirt like that? Alright, so now, last step. I need to wash the crap out of this tool, man. Okay, last part of the step is I don't want there to be dirt right there, right? Because he would have just rolled through there. And that's where my kind of hot, flamey streak is going to be. So I'm just going to take a Q-tip and I'm just going to Sorry, I'm just kind of like shaping this how I want it to look as it's kind of like drying a little bit. Kind of only have one shot at this, so kind of want it to be all right. So that's kind of what we're looking for there. You can see that there's no stuff right there, right? It also kind of depends on how you want the trail to be. Like, I kind of want the trail to be a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to add a little more, like, on these sides. Okay. All right, and then we would set that aside and let it dry. It would take, like I said, probably an hour, maybe a little longer. Just depends on how much you put there. And then an hour later, you come back, and it will look like... Oh my. I have paint all over. Like, I'm not even going to be able to touch anything. Alright, I'm going to have to go and get, like, a wipe or something. So I'm going to just leave that right there. 30 seconds, BRB. Okay, hands are clean now. All right, kind of. All right, so we did that. It's drying, blah, 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 blah. Come back. Boom, here we go. It's dry. You can see, obviously, there's a little bit of difference in the detailing as well. But same steps. I just add a little bit of blue in those dots. Not even in the dots, they're like exhausts. But it left us with this base, which is the main thing we're looking for here. So let me just try and get close there. So you can see he's rolled through the mud, and it looks like he's kind of pushing the mud up there around. And this is totally dry, which is nice. So, so you need to finish anything that we're going to do to the base first. So if we want to do a dry brush or something on the ground so that it's not as, I guess, muddy, you can. I don't think we're going to, though. So... I haven't done this yet, so we're going to kind of do this together. And again, I'm going to use this this miniature, this Power Ranger miniature from Renegade's Heroes of the Grid. So I'm going to keep him kind of down here so that I can reference what it is that I did. So I think the first thing that we need to do is probably start dry brushing some stuff. So let's go ahead and get... Trying to think if I want to go black or if I want to just go into like a red. Let's just go right into a red. think I'm gonna use this this mahogany red. It's like a brown. I think I'm gonna use that first. So I'm gonna shake it up. It's a pro acryl. I'm gonna try and do this all with. Try and do the whole thing with a single dry brush. I'm just gonna use this. This is just an old makeup brush that my wife gave me. If you have a significant other, or you yourself use makeup, and you go to buy new makeup brushes, don't throw away the old makeup brushes. You should definitely use them. All right. 1 drop of the mahogany onto the brush. Over here, work it into the bristles. And I'm gonna go all the way around the base here. You want to get more on the mini than on the ground, because his ball would be hot. The ground wouldn't necessarily be hot. So you're really dry brushing the bottom of the ball. And then if any gets on the ground, that's fine. You just don't want it to be a ton. And then you're going to apply it pretty liberally on the trail and underneath where the trail is. The part that's the most hot, which is the trail that he just left. If you don't have this mahogany, that's fine. Any brown red color would be fine. Okay. All right, so now we're going to bump up the color. We're going to go from the mahogany to burnt red, also a pro acryl. It's all about that base, no treble. That's what we're working on right now. For anybody joining us, we're working on the base. Now we want a little less of this than we got the last time, and we want it more concentrated in the spots that we want it, right? So let's start in the back. We want this more in the middle. Okay. Now we're just going to go straight red. Well, this is bold pyrrole red. I guess we're going straight pro acryl for this. hopefully what I'm doing makes sense on camera as I'm doing this. I guess we're going orange now. I'm going to grab some more of that red again and then go into the orange just because I don't necessarily want that bright orange right away. So I'm just going to mix those two together. Alright, now I'm going to go straight orange. And I'm not putting my brush in water at all. I'm just going from color to color, keeping stuff on the brush in between each. Just trying to get closer to the center here. I really want under the ball to be like really hot, right? I'm gonna grab some more orange because I don't feel like that was bright enough. Which is fine. It's because it's because I had the other colors on there. The other. Oh, this is, I need to let my paints dry, I think. Starting to... Where's the yellow? Golden yellow from Pro Acryl. Just going all in on Pro Acryl for this effect. Just building up the colors. Okay, I'm gonna switch to a brush now, because I need to be able to get in here with those bright colors. Because again, I really want the underneath to look like it's very hot. I don't like that. I will be not doing that. Now I'm just going to put the color directly in there, and then I'm just going to stick my dry brush in there and hope it just blends it all together. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm talking about, guys. But you know what? That's okay. I was really wanting to put some white right in there, like one little dot of white. Don't like that. See, I'm just experimenting now, and sometimes when you experiment too much, you screw things up in a way that you didn't intend or want. like that. Kind of messed up the front there. I was really happy with it, and then I was like, oh, let me try and do this. And so now I have to go back a few steps. I'm going back to that mahogany with the original paintbrush. All right, does that look like he is rolling through like some, like leaving a trail of something behind him there? I just don't know if I like the... My watch is like, it's time for you to stand up. I might put a wash on the base now, maybe. What was the second color? It was this burnt red, right? I'm just thinking about how the heat would work in my head, you know? I feel like the ground All right. Well, I hope that that looks kind of like what I'm trying to accomplish there. Or should I go brighter around? This is such a hard decision. not really talking about what I'm doing, because I'm not really doing much other than just trying to manipulate this in a way that makes sense. And if something ends up happening where I think, oh yeah, that's great, I figured it out, then I will let you know. Otherwise, really all I'm doing right now is just kind of experimenting. So I did too much on that front. So I just grabbed a little bit of the silver and I'm just kind of dry brushing it on up here. So it tones down some of the color down there. All right. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to add a tuft right there just to give it a little something something. And then I think we'll call it done. Just don't know what color to use. Maybe this one. I'm going to do a wasteland. I'm going to use wasteland tufts from Army Painter. Pretty much the only tufts I use are the tufts from Army Painter. I usually don't use anything else. I don't think I even have any more. Oh no. Also got these little makeup scissors. They're great for like trimming the little layers. I don't know if I like the tuft on there or not. Is it because it's that color? It might be because it's that color. I think I'm going to cut it off. maybe a rock instead of a tuft. Let's get one of these battlefield rocks. These things are pretty cool. That's these guys here. Battlefield rocks. And they're basically like little pieces of like cardboard almost. Or cork. It's like crumbled up cork. But when you put it on stuff, it really does look like a rock. And because they're so let's grab my little skizzers again. So these are, like I said, these are cool because, like, see how easy it is to, like, cut and manipulate how you want it. And it comes with, like, so many different I think that's where it's gonna go. I gotta kind of put something there now because, you know. I might put one on the other side too. Like another one over here, a small one. A small little one. Actually, this one's kind of cool. Yeah, I like that. Trying to figure out how I want this, how I want to put this on the mini, because I do like this. Sorry, guys. Alright, let those dry, and then we can go ahead and paint the base black, or the rim black, and then we will call this guy done. And while I'm finishing that up, make sure you go check out my Instagram at @TheRealDaddyLouie. It's right there up in the top right corner. I've been trying to post there photos of what I'm painting for Heroscape, as well as anything else I might paint, which right now is nothing except for Heroscape because I'm all in on Heroscape right now. I also post fun other stuff. Just a picture of my dog. Stuff like that. Just, come follow me. It's free, and it shows support, which is great. I've also been posting a lot on the Heroscapers Facebook group, so if you're not a part of that, highly recommend you check it out. This community is just amazing, and a lot of conversation in that community happens on that Facebook group. Yeah. Also, don't forget that there are currently 2 scenarios out, free scenarios from Renegade, right? As well as pre-orders are up for basically every announced expansion, which is phenomenal. Also, highly recommend that you search around for a local Heroscape scene around you, because I can tell you from experience, the community is great and the game is just so much fun, especially in a local game store setting with like-minded people. And let's face it, when you throw Heroscape on a table, people who are unfamiliar with the game are gonna flock to your table. They're gonna want to see what you're doing. The terrain system and the way that the terrain works is an immediate draw for anybody looking out from a distance. And then when they get up close to see what's going on, you can teach the game in literally a matter of minutes, and they're off and playing, which is so cool. So yeah, super invested in Heroscape right now. LOVE, love the game at the moment. I mean, I shouldn't say at the moment. I'm just currently obsessed, seriously. Sorry, I realized I was doing that off camera. I was just putting a rim around the base there, and the mini is ready to go. I hope that effect there is doing what I want it to do, which is make you think that the ball is on fire. And yeah, that's it. She's a beauty. I'm calling her done. Thank you to everybody that tuned in and watched. Again, I'm Daddy Louie. Go check out my Instagram. You guys have been wonderful, and remember to take care of yourself, take care of each other, play your games, paint your miniatures, and I'll see you guys for another Mini Monday in a few weeks.